And in the casting process, the director had told me, if I ever say no to someone that you show me, you can bring them into the audition if you actually feel like they're really right for the role. I'm not saying do it all the time, but if you think there's someone that you want, bring them in. And so he was one of those people, and I brought him into the callback. He read for the director, walks out, and the director, Dan, was like, well, that's the guy. Where did he come from? I was like, I mean, I showed him to you like 2 weeks ago, and you said no. He's like, are you serious? That was the guy? And I was like, that was him. So he was one that we were really lucked out to get, and he's been finding some awesome success since. But then actually on the first weekend of filming, we shot overnights, which means you're shooting literally overnight. So our call time was like 5 p.m. and we were shooting till like 3 or 4 in the morning for the first few days of filming. And overnights are generally like the toughest, so you kind of want to put them in the beginning if you can, so you can kind of coast the rest of the time because it throws off everyone's sleep schedules. And on the second day of filming, it was a overnight, and basically it was a Saturday, and I was told that the actor that we had for Jennifer Mann, who was the inciting incident, the girl who was triggered, she wasn't able to do it because we had to flip her days. And so the actor that we had cast and chosen was a friend of the director. She had been locked in from the very beginning. She was out, and basically I had 2 days to find that actor. And so it was really intense with this director because he's very, very particular about finding people that are actually the character. And he really wants people who aren't seeming like actors and just stripped down versions of actual humans. And so I showed him about 50 different people that I came out with, and he just kept saying no, 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 no. Until finally I showed him Emily Ferguson, and she was one of the last. And he saw Emily and was like, oh my God, she's amazing. That's the girl. We're like, yes, get her, call her now. And so I looked up her information, and I noticed that her agent's information had a Nashville area code. And I was like, well, that's weird. Call her agent, and I found out that Emily Ferguson, was a student and actually lives in Alabama. And I had like 2 days to get her there. We were only doing local hires, so we couldn't fly anyone out. We couldn't put anyone up. And I got her on the phone finally, and I talked to her, and I told her all of that, and she was like, yeah, that's okay. My parents said it's okay. And I also have family that lives in Manhattan, so I have a place to stay. And I was like, so you'll literally fly out tomorrow to be here for the fitting? She's like, yeah, no problem. And so she just jumped on a plane and was incredibly accommodating, and in my opinion gave one of the truly like chilling performances throughout. She's so good, and we were just so lucky to have her.
Yeah, that the arbitration scene is really amazing. Just hearing those two perspectives, and it's so well written, and that was a really phenomenal scene. And I know, last night in your speech you talked about this film you started making it before Me Too came out and all of that started happening. So can you talk a little bit about like the kind of the creative team and the conversations that led to wanting to tell this kind of a story?
Yeah, I really got hooked from the story originally from the story about the grandmother. I have a soft spot for grandparents in general. I'm very close with mine. So that's originally what just like grabbed my attention instantly. And then as the pages turned in the script and I saw the college stuff coming out, it to me was just such an incredibly relevant conversation that needed to be talked about that wasn't being talked about constantly yet. And we were in development in 2017, literally working out at the director's apartment that you saw on screen. And we were just like hacking away as the dam of Me Too just breaks. And suddenly it's the conversation to have. And we were all kind of freaking out because it's like, oh my gosh, are we late on this? But what we realized was that no, this is a conversation that's going to be ongoing. It needs to happen. And so it made us kind of look at the script through a different lens and really take our time. Instead of rushing into production immediately, we could still massage and develop the script to really start talking about more of those issues and kind of getting as many different perspectives as we possibly can before trying to address something. And yeah, so it was incredibly exciting to be a part of a project that was kind of on the forefront of the conversation, to continue the conversation, because I think it is something that we need to keep talking about.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I know we're going to have some questions, but before we get to those, one last question. Can you tell us about how we can see the film in the future and anything else that's coming up the pipeline for you?
Yeah, so this is going to be out on December 6th. It's released through Gravitas, who's our distributor, and it's going to be in select theaters, New York, LA, and a couple other cities, but it will be on iTunes and Amazon. But just a heads up, it's going to be not called Safe Spaces. Our distributor, and this is a little film festival inside information, our distributor renamed it to After Class. And if you're wondering, why would you rename it After Class? It is because when you are searching online and on demand, it will be at the top of the alphabetical queue. So hopefully you have an easy time finding it and recommending it. But After Class is going to be out December 6th, and so I'm really excited to share it with the rest of the world. And I personally have a digital series that's going to be coming out soon. It's not a narrative series. It's like basically a comedian named Cedric the Entertainer. I'm a big fan of his. And it's a talk show where he basically interviews different celebrities about his taste. And so I got the opportunity to produce this series, and we brought on a bunch of different random celebrities that are Cedric's friends, because he has a ton of them. And so on the show, we have everyone from Al Roker to Sean Lennon, Mark Ronson, Tracy Morgan, Jerry Seinfeld, and they're all just talking about the things they like in general. So it was really, really fun to work on. That was this summer, and that's called the Taste Dive Show. So that will be out either at the end of this year or sometime next year.
Awesome. Well, we'll look out for it.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, so who out here has a question? Right in the front?
How much this movie was pre-written and how much of it was improvised as the show went on?
That's a good question. It actually was very close to script, but Justin Long is an absolute improviser. Like, that man, seeing him work was one of the most fascinating things, because as a filmmaker, you have the opportunity sometimes to work with names, and a lot of times a name is just a name, right? But Justin was in every single scene of this film, and he was a force. And when I got to see him work, every single take, he would just go. And we would start with the script, but Justin just really, really fell into the character and really understood who this person was, and would just kind of go off. So like, a lot of the improvising was with Justin, but Kate Berlant is also a really great up-and-coming star. She played his sister. She's a big improviser as well. So when they would do their scenes together, the director had the points that he wanted, but then we just kind of sit back and let them go. And Michael Godert, he played the brother, also a tremendous improviser as well, and he's friends with Justin from a long time back. So a lot of their dialogue back and forth would go, like when they were doing the ashes outside the house. That was like one of my favorite scenes. A lot of their back and forth was just kind of improvised, that kind of mumblecore vibe. And the move where he hits him with the ashes on the arm, that was also improvised, which to me, like when I saw that happening, I was dying. Yeah.